interview. Based on my training and experience and working a lot of narcotics investigations. I have sometimes seen the first subject to the table, if you will, can sometimes get a better deal. So part of my strategy was to have special agents in front of Julie Harding, special agents myself in front of Thomas O'Donnell, and give one of them an opportunity to talk about the truth.
And I guess at that point in time, you all, when I say you all, said the FBI, you weren't currently aware of Miss Harding's whereabouts. You thought she was still in California. Is that correct?
It was unclear at the time. I was pinging her cell phone, so I was obtaining some data, but we had to plan this ahead of time. So it was uncertain once we traveled to California at that moment where she was going to be. We didn't know if she would catch a flight back to California, so I was prepared with that search warrant out of the Eastern District of California to obtain the DNA, the bugle swab.
Yeah. Now, subsequent to learning Miss Harding was deceased, did you continue with your murder for hire investigation?
I did continue. At that point, I had 2 cell phones that belonged to Julie Harding. Those phones were placed on a technique called gray key, and we were trying to unlock those phones so I could review those phones. I was optimistic that perhaps I could find some type of communication on one of those phones that would substantiate the murder for hire statute.
And at some point in time, you got the results back on those phones, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
And what did you discover or learn?
On one of the cell phones, the day of Michael Harding's murder, the cell phone was wiped.
Okay, can you explain to the court what wipe means?
Yes, essentially, the phone was reset. So all the data that would have been on that phone was wiped clean. So there was nothing that I could review on that phone.
And that was done the day that the Commonwealth alleges and the FBI believes that Michael Harding was killed.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, so at some point in time thereafter, after receiving those results, did you and Mr. Yerkison talk, or what did you decide to do with your case as far as the federal case?
Yes, I stayed in communication with AUSA Mark Yerkison. And once all these things had happened, we realized that we did not have enough evidence to substantiate the murder for hire investigation.
Okay. And at that point in time, did you contact Detective Burton with the state police and tell him that, or?
Yes, I was in contact and informed him of that information.
Okay. Okay. And did you make arrangements or in the process of making arrangements to return the evidence to the Kentucky State Police?
Yes, we are in the process of that. I need to further coordinate. I've communicated with the FBI evidence techs in Louisville to have that evidence shipped back to the Kentucky State Police.
Okay.
I need to check on the status of that, but
Yeah.
that communication was made.
I have no further questions, Chairman.
Would you like to inquire?
Yes, Your Honor. Good morning, Agent Johnson.
Good morning.
Sarah Zurcher for Mr. O'Donnell.
Could you please that just a little bit?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I said Sarah Zurcher for Mr. O'Donnell.
That's what I just wanted to be clear from now.
Agent Johnson, what date were you contacted by KSP about the murder of Michael Harding?
September 28th, 2022.
Prior to that date, was the FBI investigating Mr. O'Donnell for any crime?
No, ma'am.
Prior to that date, was the FBI aware of Michael Harding's murder?
I was not, ma'am.
And what day was your investigation officially cleared by Mr. Yerkison?
Looking at my case file, it would have been on or before September 30th, 2022.
So within 2 days of Detective Burton contacting you?
Yes, ma'am.
And as you said, the FBI was interested in the murder as a potential murder for hire.
Yes, ma'am. I opened as a murder for hire investigation.
Okay. And the Kentucky State Police was investigating the same murder.
We worked together on the case. We corroborated information. We shared information.
So the Kentucky State Police was investigating Michael Harding's murder?
Yes.
And you understand, well, let me just ask, are joint operations with state police, is that common for the FBI?
Yes, ma'am. I work a lot of cases with my local partners.
And when you cooperate in that way, it's possible that federal charges will result from that investigation.
Yes, ma'am. That's why I get involved, is to pursue the federal charges.
Right. And it's also possible that state charges will be pursued.
It is possible. Typically, though, the cases go federal once I'm involved.
But the state police would not stay involved if they weren't investigating state charges, right?
I'm sorry, repeat the
I'm gonna
question.
object to that question. I don't think.
I'll withdraw it.
Just rephrase it.
And it's possible the investigation could result in both state and federal charges, right?
It is possible.
And in this case, you conducted witness interviews with Detective Burton and Detective Debris starting on September the 29th of 22.
I remember that I had conducted an interview of a close continued contact of Julie Harding. I'm not sure if you're referring to a different interview.
I'm referring to your presence at Michael Harding's residence in Tennessee and interviewing the neighbor, Sue Estep, on September 29th.
Yes, ma'am. That was an opportunity. We were assisting the sheriff's office during the search of Michael Harding's residence. And then the neighbor was home, so we stopped in to talk to them.
So there were, excuse me, multiple interviews where FBI agents and KSP were present together interviewing witnesses.
I remember the neighbor interview. Detective Bramlett and I interviewed Thomas O'Donnell. I'm not remembering another interview that we paired up to interview witnesses.
Were the FBI agents present in California when the employees of Zotex were interviewed?
You're gonna have to speak up a little bit. I'm sorry.
Was the FBI present when Detective Burton interviewed employees of Zotex in California in December of 22?
Yes, ma'am.
And there were also circumstances where FBI agents interviewed witnesses without the state police present?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And the substance of those interviews was shared with KSP?
Yes, ma'am. Based on the nature of this crime, we were sharing information.
And evidence in the case was obtained through Kentucky subpoenas and also federal subpoenas, right?
Yes, ma'am. Initially, the Kentucky State Police, who had a head start on the investigation, had drafted subpoenas and I believe a search warrant for phone records. Once my case was opened, I was on leave the following week and I had training the week after that. Once I was back in the office mid-October, I began drafting subpoenas and search warrants for mostly phone-based records.
So as the FBI uncovered evidence in the case, that was shared with the Kentucky State Police.
Yes.
And as the Kentucky State Police uncovered evidence, they shared that with the FBI.
Yes, that is correct.
But the Kentucky State Police did the initial crime scene investigation on September the 27th.
Yes, they did.
All right, and you weren't present when those swabs were collected?
No, ma'am.
And they were collected by KSP's crime scene response unit?
To my understanding, yes.
And then on October 4th, Detective Burton delivered those swabs to the FBI.
Yes, ma'am. I was not there that day, but yes, he brought those to the office, to my understanding.
And you indicated that you and Detective Burton had a conversation prior to that where you requested the evidence?
Yes.
And did you tell Detective Burton that it was going to be sent to the lab in Quantico for DNA testing?
I probably would have told him that.
And you mentioned that once the swabs were received, they were stored in Louisville.
Yes, initially they were at the Bowling Green RA evidence room, and then they would have been transferred to the Louisville evidence room.
Did you see the packaged swabs prior to that transfer?
No, ma'am, I left them in their original packaging, and I just mailed those to Louisville evidence.
What packaging were they in when you mailed them?
I don't remember.
Were they in sealed?
Yes, they would have,
Envelopes?
yes, they would have followed all of our evidence protocols.
So you never saw the swabs themselves, you saw the envelopes.
Yes, ma'am.
So at that point, you had no knowledge of how much DNA, if any, was on any of the swabs.
No, ma'am, that's what our lab technicians are for, to help determine how much DNA evidence is on a swab.
And then you mentioned that you filled out the request for laboratory examination that the Commonwealth showed you. And on that form, there's 3 different options regarding DNA testing, right?
Yes,
Would you like
ma'am.
to see it?
Sure.
Okay, and what are the 3 different options that you can check regarding DNA testing?
Sorry, I don't know if this was the right lab form. I think this is from the vehicle that you gave me. The weapon.
Oh yeah, the buckle is there.
Okay, that was from when we entered. Okay. You would like me to read this to the court?
Yes, the 3 different options.
Permission is granted to consume items stains during the DNA testing process. Permission is not granted to consume items stains during the DNA testing process. Contact the author to discuss permission to consume items stains during the DNA process.
And you're looking at the one from December 20th, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And that was when Mr. O'Donnell's buccal swab was submitted to the lab.
That is correct.
And which did you check as far as the DNA?
I coordinated with my POC at the FBI lab, and through communication with her, I checked the top box. Permission is granted to consume item stains during the DNA testing process.
This is some of the mouth swabs here.
This one is the mouth swabs, yes.
Go ahead.
And then returning to the other submission that was made in October, you testified already that you checked the box to consume the swabs.
Yes,
Is it your testimony today that there was communication by phone and email regarding that decision prior to you filling in that form?
yes, I believe it was phone communication.
And was that communication documented in your file?
Who are you talking about communication with him?
He is testifying that he communicated with his point of contact at the lab.
Okay, well, I want to make sure that we're sure who you're talking about.
No, ma'am, that's the point of the form. That's my documentation as far as communication with our lab personnel, filling out this form.
Does the lab maintain notes of that conversation, or do you know?
I can't speak to that.
And is that standard procedure to have a conversation with the lab prior to filling out that form?
Yes, it is.
And it's your testimony, well, are you saying that if the lab had told you something different, you would not have marked that box on the form?
The point of contact gave me guidance on how to complete the form based on the type of evidence that we had, and I followed those recommendations.
So the lab told you to mark permission to consume.
The lab gave me guidance.
And the guidance was to mark that box?
Yes.
Is there anywhere on that form that you indicated that the results needed to be expedited?
Hmm. Are you referring to December 20th?
And asked about those, so I'm handing you the
Okay.
October one too.
You asked in your general, but you might point out something.
I'm asking specifically on that form, is there anywhere that you marked that it would be you needed results in an expedited manner?
I don't see a section on the form, but part of the lab POC's responsibilities. As you can imagine, the FBI lab has a lot of evidence that is coming in for them to test, and they do have a process to determine how quick or how soon that they would process that evidence. A crime of such violence would be expedited on the list.
But that would be the lab's decision if it was expedited.
Yes. Yes.
Good, I think we're getting into areas of expertise that show probably should have been covered just with the lab.
I'm moving on, Judge. Welcome, take those. Thank you.
Mhm.
So on October 21st of 22, when you submitted the first lab request form, federal charges had not been filed.
When you say not filed, what do you mean by that?
No one had been charged with a crime.
That's true. Yes, the
And
case was
state
ongoing.
charges had not, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just saying that we were busy working the case at that time frame.
Right. And state charges hadn't been filed in October of 22 either.
Not to my knowledge.
But at that point, you were aware that state charges could be filed.
I was pursuing the murder for hire statute.
And you were aware that KSP was investigating a murder.
We were sharing information. We were communicating with each other to work this as quickly as we could. At that point, there had been a crime of violence and this person is still on the loose. We didn't want there to be another victim.
Right. So you were aware at that time that state charges could be filed at some point.
Okay, that's
Ma'am, I
been
don't-
asked and answered multiple times. Everybody in the world is aware that charges could be filed against anybody, so move on.
And at the time you submitted the December 20th lab request, had federal charges been filed?
No,
But Kentucky charges had been filed.
correct. We had the state arrest warrant for Thomas O'Donnell.
And in fact, he'd been arrested on December the 8th.
That is correct.
Was there a federal court order regarding consuming the DNA samples at the lab?
I'm sorry.
Did a federal court issue an order regarding consumption of the DNA samples?
I would probably need to look at the search warrant and how that is worded, but I had a warrant for Thomas O'Donnell's DNA and Julie Harding's DNA.
Okay, and in December of 2022, you and the Kentucky, well, your office and the Kentucky State Police coordinated regarding planning to arrest Mr. O'Donnell in California.
Ma'am, I think you said December 22. Thomas O'Donnell had already been arrested at that.
He was arrested on December 8th, 2022, is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Okay, so
Repeat.
prior to that date,
Okay.
you and the KSP coordinated regarding when and where to arrest Mr. O'Donnell.
Yes, that is correct. Conducted a meeting, had invited the Kentucky State Police. I had the AUSA, Mark Yurchison, in this meeting. This meeting was conducted in the Bowling Green office. I had my supervisor present. This was a fairly big lift. I was coordinating again with the Eastern District of California, the Northern District of California. We had submitted FBI had submitted subpoenas to the airline. I knew Thomas O'Donnell was traveling from California to Texas. This was a good opportunity for us.
So the plan was to arrest Mr. O'Donnell as he arrived for a flight out of the Sacramento airport?
Correct. We conducted surveillance of Thomas, and at the airport, I had coordinated with their police, and we created a scenario where Detective Bramlett and I were able to interview Thomas O'Donnell at the airport.
And when you say we conducted surveillance, you mean FBI?
The FBI conducted surveillance. I was also pinging Thomas O'Donnell's personal cell phone.
And I think you testified earlier that Detective Burton was present when Mr. O'Donnell was arrested.
Yes, he was.
And Mr. O'Donnell was arrested on a Kentucky state warrant for
That
murder.
That is correct.
Were you present during the interrogation of Mr. O'Donnell?
It was an interview, ma'am. It was not an interrogation. But yes, I was present.
Who else was present as far as law enforcement?
Detective Bramlett.
And who asked questions during the interview?
It's a recorded interview. We both asked questions.
And at the end of that interview, you served a federal search warrant for Mr. O'Donnell's buccal swab.
That is
Right.
correct.
Did you personally take the swab or did Detective Burton?
I did.
And then that was submitted to the laboratory on the December 20th, 22 request.
I believe so, ma'am. I'd have to look at the dates, but I submitted that to the lab.
At any point, did you notify the lab that Mr. O'Donnell had been charged in Kentucky?
I don't remember for sure.
Would there be a record of that communication if it had happened?
I don't know. I'm not sure. If there was an email, that's something I could find, but there might have been a verbal communication to the lab.
And did you have that conversation with your point of contact at the lab prior to sending the December request for examination?
No, ma'am. The strategy was that Thomas O'Donnell would want to conduct the interview and give information on Julie Harding. I was very active, still working the murder for hire plot.
You need to speak up a little bit too. I'm
Yes,
sorry.
sir.
Yes, but you submitted the second lab request on December the 20th of 22. Right?
Yes, ma'am. I believe that was that mostly the vehicle search, I believe.
Items from the vehicle, guns from Julie Harding's house, and Tom's buckle swab.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so I'm asking if you had that phone call with the lab about what to submit and what testing would be done prior to submitting that request.
And the phone call, what are you referencing? What would I have said in the phone call?
You mentioned for the October request that your procedure is to have a phone call with your point of contact who then tells you or gives you guidance as to how to fill out the form. I'm asking if that same phone call happened in December.
Yes. That is my gateway to the lab, having communication with the lab POC.
And you don't remember when you submitted that lab request in December, whether you informed the lab that Mr. O'Donnell had been arrested and charged?
I believe I would have communicated that information, but I'm not 100% certain on that phone call. That the purpose of that phone call was to communicate that I have additional evidence coming to the FBI lab.
And after Mr. O'Donnell's arrest on December the 8th, KSP detectives stayed with the FBI in California to conduct witness interviews and investigation.
Yes, I only remember their involvement with Thomas O'Donnell's employer. That's the only joint interview that I remember. Myself and another agent, we flew to Tulsa area and conducted another witness interview, but KSP was not involved with that.
And on what date did you do the extractions using Gray Key on Julie Harding's phones?
Those phones were on Gray Key for a significant amount of time. Those extractions were in the last several months when I finally obtained that data and started reviewing through those phones.
And has that information been provided to KSP?
We are in the process of that. I've communicated with a group called the RCFL to have that electronic evidence put in a format that can be transferred and mailed to the Kentucky State Police.
So after Mr. O'Donnell's arrest on December 8th of 22, the FBI and KSP continued to share information regarding the investigation of Michael Harding's murder.
Yes, we did share information. I was still the lead, but we shared information.
You were the lead on the federal side of the investigation.
Yes, I believe the lead of the investigation, though, at that time frame.
No further questions.
No redirect.
Can this officer be released?
He can be released in regard to this motion. I'll probably didn't consider this motion spread.
Okay. You probably need to be,
Yeah.
excluded from the courtroom. Mr. Bailiff, will you take the officer somewhere where he can be comfortable?
I'll first.
Be out in one of the rooms if he likes, or outside anywhere, just show him the facilities we have. Okay, you want to call your next witness?
Well, I have no other witnesses on this motion.
Okay. Would you like to call any witnesses?
No, Your Honor.
Yeah, that concludes the witnesses. Would you like to make a statement?
Well, I think Ms. Searcher said she wanted to brief this.
Okay, what kind of briefing schedule would you like?
Judge, I don't know how long the Commonwealth would need to brief. We'd ask that the Commonwealth submit their brief first since the response hasn't been filed to the motion.
Makes sense?
Okay.
How long do you need?
I think 30 days, Your Honor.
30 days to be fine. You want 15 to respond, or
14 would be fine.
I'll give you 15.
Thank you, Judge.
So 30 days from today, you have a brief topic would be response, 15 days, and then you reply 5 days after. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Ms. Smile, you make me a copy of the hearing post.
Would you like a copy? Would you like them to burn you a copy too?
Yes, I've spoken with the clerk. Thank you.
Okay, now we have the second motion.
Motion spread.
It's to suppress and has to interview.
I call Special Agent Johnson back first.
Okay. You call, if you get the special agent to come back. You make a brief statement. This is your motion, suppress, just come up and just say what the motion is about. No, I've read the motion, but just for the record.
Yes, Judge, this is a motion to suppress Mr. O'Donnell's statement following the invocation he made during the interview about 4 minutes
Place in California, what day?
on December 8th, 2022.
And present at the interview was a representative of the Kentucky State Police and also the FBI, correct?
That's correct, Judge.
Go ahead and hold up just a second.
Okay, you have anything you want to say, Mr.?
No, I think we'll just
Okay.
put on the proof.
Put on the proof.
Now, does the court, there's been a transcription provided. Does the court want us to play the interview during the hearing?
No, I've read the transcription. You stipulate the transcription is true and correct.
That's correct, Judge. I would like, do you intend to introduce the recording of the interview
I
into
do.
the record, even
I
though we
will.
don't?
I
Okay.
just want to ask, if it need to be played or not.
Yeah. I've read it and both sides stipulate the fact. Officer, you want to come back up?
Yeah.
Your testimony now will be taken in a different motion. This is a motion to suppress the interview of the defendant, Mr. O'Donnell. So you're still under oath, okay?
Yes, sir.
You want to inquire, Mr. Stockton?
I will. Special Agent Johnson, you've already testified in an earlier motion about how you made arrangements to conduct an interview with Thomas O'Donnell on December the 8th when he was arrested in, is that Sacramento, California?
Yes, it was.
Okay. And where exactly was that in Sacramento, California?
We were at the airport.
Okay. And can you tell the court what happened when you approached Mr. O'Donnell? And what happened thereafter?
Sure, yes. I provided identification. Detective Bramlett did the same. And during the interview, Detective Bramlett informed Thomas O'Donnell that he had obtained an arrest warrant for murder charges. We attempted to interview Thomas O'Donnell. I got the sense that he wanted us to talk. He wanted to know what we knew, but he was not giving us a lot of information. I asked him about Julie Harding, and Thomas O'Donnell said something to the effect that the name doesn't ring a bell. He didn't know who we were talking about. And the interview concluded shortly thereafter.
I was interested in one aspect of the interview. It's early in the interview, Mr. O'Donnell's asking for his glasses and he can't find his glasses. Did you all assist him in finding those?
Yes, we did.
And he was able to retrieve those and place those on his head?
Yes, he was. And I
Okay.
forgot to mention that he was Mirandized before the interview
And
started.
who Mirandized him on the interview? You remember?
I don't remember.
Okay. There was also a statement of rights and consent statement that he signed. Did you have that executed or was that a form from the Kentucky State Police?
Repeat the question, sir.
Let me do a little better. I'll show you. There's a KSP form. Is that a form that you or Detective Burton had Mr. O'Donnell to sign?
Detective Burton.
Okay, thank you. And you recall that when,
Was that was previously introduced into the record? wasn't
not
it?
yet, I'm going to introduce it through Detective Burton, if that's all right, Your Honor. You recall whether or not at this point in time, when Mr. O'Donnell signed this, whether or not he had located his glasses and was wearing those?
At the time that he had signed it, I remember he had his glasses.
Okay, thank you. I don't think I have any other, well, one other thing, was the interview recorded?
Yes, sir, it was.
And you recall who recorded the interview?
Yes. We both had recorders on us. At the end of all this, when I went to download my copy, I had some type of technical issue and the interview was not fully recorded. Detective Bramlett's recorder did work.
Okay. And you've not listened to the interview or replayed it prior to your testimony today, have you?
I have not.
You're going from your memory of when this
Yes,
happened?
yes, sir.
Okay. I have no further questions this witness.
Would you like to inquire?
Yes, Judge. Good morning, Agent Johnson.
Good morning.
have a few questions about the interview, but I believe Detective Bramlett conducted most of the questioning during the interview, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So I'll ask him about most of the substance. So as you testified earlier, both Kentucky and federal agencies worked on this murder investigation, right?
Yes.
And the day of Mr. O'Donnell's interview, he was also arrested on a Kentucky arrest warrant, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you documented the substance of the interview in a federal case file memo, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And then you participated in the interview
Yes, ma'am.
and you signed the Kentucky State Police Miranda form that was just shown to you,
As a witness, ma'am.
as did Detective Bramlett or Burton.
BJ.
Right. As did Detective Burton.
Yes, ma'am.
And my understanding, so I want to talk about the recording for just a second. My understanding is that federal agents don't normally record witness interviews. Is that fair to say?
No, I don't think that's fair to say. I think it depends.
And the recording that you conducted, was that started around the same time as Detective Burton's recording?
Yes, ma'am.
And the portion that was, I guess, uploaded to Elser, do you know if that has also been distributed to Kentucky State Police?
I provided discovery to the Kentucky State Police for the Commonwealth. All of the file, and I had to go back and do a complete download because typically some files we may not include, such as administrative taskings. And I remember Mr. Jesse Stockton requested all records. So all of those files should have been distributed.
Including the portion of your recording?
I believe so, ma'am. I would need to go back and look in the case file, but anything that's in my Sentinel record should have been provided.
And just to be clear, was your recording an audio or a video recording?
It was an audio recorder.
To your knowledge, well, neither of you video recorded the interview.
I don't remember us having that capability in that room. I would want to go back and look at the case file. I don't remember the airport having that capability in that room.
And just so we get a feel for, since we don't have a video, we could set the scene in terms of this interview room.
Yes, I'm sorry. What is the question?
What kind of room was Mr. O'Donnell interviewed in?
It was a room that was kind of in a back area of the airport away from the public. It was trying to think dimension wise, a rectangular shaped room. I believe it had a table and a couple chairs around the table, almost like a small conference room, if you will.
And when you and Detective Burton encountered Mr. O'Donnell, he was already in handcuffs, right?
Yes, ma'am. He was arrested. We took his handcuffs off during the interview, to my memory.
And though the handcuffs were taken off, at that point, Mr. O'Donnell was not free to leave that environment, right?
No, ma'am. He had been arrested.
And now I want to talk about the actual interview for a second. So Detective Burton read the Miranda form to Mr. O'Donnell.
Yes, ma'am.
And the form that you just saw, and I'll show it to you as well. Judge may approach the witness. So this is the form, and at the top of the form, in bold, it says statement of rights, correct?
Yes.
And again, in bold, toward the bottom, it says waiver of rights. And also, just for the record.
Talking about the KSP forms, which are.
Yes, Judge. And so Mr. O'Donnell, when he was read this form by Detective Burton, he was informed of his right to remain silent.
Yes, ma'am.
He was informed of his right to have an attorney present during the interview, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And he was also informed that he could terminate the interview at any time.
Yes, ma'am.
And so that could happen 5 minutes into the interview, right?
Correct.
It could happen 15 minutes into the interview.
Correct.
It could happen before or after he signed the Miranda form.
Correct.
And after, and I think we've touched on the glasses, so that as you recall, you did locate the glasses for him.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you recall whether or not he actually read the form himself?
Yes, the form was placed in front of him before he had signed the document, signed
So
the
the
form.
form is placed in front of him and he signs it. There's no recording of him reading it to himself.
I don't know how you can tell if another party reads something. He's testified, he placed it in front of him. Mr. O'Donnell would have to testify whether he read it or not.
We don't have a video recording of him looking like he's going through the document, right?
I think that's been established. There was.
You have an objection?
Yes, I do.
It's
It's a rolling objection, I guess, because.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yes. Well, we've established there was no video. He can't read Mr. O'Donnell's mind. That goes to whether Mr. O'Donnell read the form or not. I can stand here with this in front of me for
The
10
only
minutes.
thing we
but
can
that doesn't mean
testify
I
is
read
he
it.
asked for his glasses and he signed the form after he got it.
That's all he knows.
See.
So. Do you recall that while you're attempting to locate Mr. O'Donnell's glasses, Detective Burton tells Mr. O'Donnell that he can read the form to him again?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, because initially Detective Burton read it himself, but I guess in context, Mr. O'Donnell had not read it again after that point.
I know.
Yeah, I don't understand these questions that you're asking. You're asking for conjecture. Now, if he wants to play the entire recording here, we can.
Judge, I can rephrase it, because essentially Detective Burton tells Mr. O'Donnell,
Okay.
well, I can read.
What you're doing is reciting to him. He either needs to have the opportunity to look at a transcript or which is the best statement of what happened, or listen to the recording. It's not fair for you. He said he hadn't reviewed the recording since that time. It's not fair to ask him what he might recollect about something that happened 2 years ago.
And Judge, I have a copy of the transcript.
Presenting to us the transcript that both of you agreed to.
Yes, Judge.
Okay.
I
Well,
have
it
not.
said, listen, it says what it says. Okay, you can read a portion of it and see if he has any independent recollection of it. If he does, he does. If he doesn't, he doesn't. Okay?
Agent Johnson, do you recall Detective Burton stating during the interview? I mean, I can read it to you again. I read it verbatim, but if there's a part you don't understand or can't see or something like that, I can read it for you again.
Your question is do I remember that specific verbiage?
Yes.
No, ma'am, I do not remember that specifically.
If you reviewed a copy of a transcript documenting the interview, would that refresh your recollection?
What's the
It doesn't matter whether he remembers it or not. We have a recording of it and you have a transcript of it. Move on.
Judge, may I play a recording of that portion?
What does it matter whether he remember? He's telling you he cannot remember. You can play the whole recording if you'd like. It still won't reflect the fact whether he remembers it or not. It happened. You have a recording of it. I don't understand.
Judge, I'm gonna have further questions about Agent Johnson's response to what we believe was the invocation.
Let's play the whole thing then. That'll be what his response was, not what he remembers. He says he has no recollection of it. So if he says he has no recollection of it, you could say, well, he had no recollection of that happened, but they could still play the tape. The tape says what happened. It is what it is, if you want to play the tape.
And so Judge, I'll play a portion. I think the issue is now we haven't yet admitted the tape, so I could go ahead and admit the tape now and play
The
that
objection, I
portion.
was going to admit it to Detective Burton, but it doesn't matter, just because his recorder worked and his didn't. That's the reason I was going to introduce it to Detective Burton.
So you're ready to introduce it, go ahead.
Well, I don't want to interfere with your cross-examination. But what can you elicit from an officer who was present that has no independent recollection other than recording it, other than what's in the report? What does he have to add to that? I don't understand why you're asking questions about it.
Judge, I guess I assumed that he would have reviewed the interview before this hearing, but I mean, really.
If he had reviewed it before the interview, it wouldn't change what's in the interview. The interview's there. We've got the tape. If you didn't have a tape, you could ask him, what do you recollected? If this was said, if this gentleman was Mirandized, if he wasn't Mirandized, but it's all in the tape. And I've assumed the tape will be filed for the consideration of the court. Okay, so move
Yeah.
on if you have anything else you want to ask.
I think I'll go ahead and admit the tape and then just ask a few
You
follow-up
can't admit
questions.
the tape because the foundation has to be laid by the person who took the tape. So if you'll step off for a second, you put the detective on, we'll introduce the tape, okay? And he can stay present.
I don't mind if they want to stipulate to it.
You
we'll
want to
just go ahead-
stipulate that
we'll
this-
introduce
that
it.
the
Yes,
tape is
sir.
valid, then it will be the next exhibit of the Commonwealth. Have it marked. Okay. The stipulation of both parties. Okay, you may proceed, counsel.
Judge, I'm going to just play a portion of the admitted tape and then ask Agent Johnson some questions about the portion.
That'd be fine. With a transcript that has been stipulated by both parties as being true, correct transcript of the interview with the defendant Thomas O'Donnell conducted in California.
So Agent Johnson, at this point that I just played, which is also around 4:23 in the transcript, Mr. O'Donnell had already been informed of his rights because the Miranda form had been read once, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. O'Donnell responds at this point in the interview by saying, I mean, I don't want to waive any of my rights. Why would I want to waive my rights? That doesn't make sense.
Correct.
And that occurred about 4 minutes and 33 seconds into the interview, right?
Correct.
And after Mr. O'Donnell said he didn't want to waive any of his rights, Detective Burton didn't terminate the interrogation at that point, right?
That is correct.
You can see that it continues on, with Detective Burton essentially explaining that Mr. O'Donnell needs to sign the form in order to get information.
Ma'am, I have a comment though. During that same time frame when Thomas O'Donnell said that, he also asked, why would I want to waive my rights? He asked us a question during that process.
Are you familiar with rhetorical questions?
Object. Mr. O'Donnell says rhetorical question.
Oh, I don't think it's damaging to say he's familiar with rhetorical questions.
I know where
And Mr. O'Donnell's statement ends with, that doesn't make sense, period.
Correct.
And so the interview continues. You personally never repeated the Miranda warnings to Mr. O'Donnell after this point, right?
Me personally, I did not, ma'am.
Nor did Detective Burton.
As far as a verbal, you're asking me
Right.
verbally.
Well, here's the thing. Let's play this entire tape. He says this happened years ago or whenever. He doesn't remember. I don't know how many interviews he's conducted since then. And now he says he hasn't reviewed this. You are lucky. I would agree with you. This is the first time I've ever been involved with any federal investigation that we had a recording of an interview. I'm surprised that they do that. I've really never done that. So we have it this time. So play the interview. The interview is the best evidence of what was said there, not what his recollection is. So if you want to play, if you're just going to ask him what happened, if they were rights were read again, you can't expect him to remember that. Okay, so you want to play the tape, or do you have a question that you're leading up to?
Judge, I have a question that essentially Agent Johnson, after this statement is made, the interview continues under the same circumstances, right?
Yes, ma'am.
There's no break in the interview after Mr. O'Donnell says, I don't want to waive any of my rights before Detective Burton continues questioning.
Yeah,
Chief misrepresenting what's on the statement.
just,
After Mr. O'Donnell's statement.
okay, read the statement that Mr. O'Donnell made in its verbatim, okay?
After Mr. O'Donnell says, I mean, I don't want to waive any of my rights. I mean, why would I want to waive my rights? That doesn't make any sense. Detective Burton immediately continues the interview seconds later.
Correct. I mean, earlier Thomas O'Donnell asked, what was this about?
And right now, I'm not talking about earlier, I'm talking about this specific.
The court will take judicial notice that the transcript says that Mr. O'Donnell made a statement at 4:33 and Detective Burton continues to have a dialogue with him at 4:38, 5 seconds later.
And that dialogue continued without a break in the interview.
5 seconds. The court's already taking judicial notice. 5 seconds.
And Judge, I have no further questions for this
Okay.
witness.
Totally agree.
Okay, now are you going to need this officer again? I think
I
it would
think
be
you'd
good
be
for him to
excused
stay
for-
around in case he needs, for a few minutes, in case he needs to fill any blanks in from what Detective Burton wouldn't y'all like for him to stay around till then?
Yes, Judge.
Defense counsel. Okay. Maybe this break won't be a little longer than the last break he took. Okay, so if you, Mr. Bailiff, you excuse him to go out of the courtroom and keep him present. Now, you want to call your next witness?
Yeah, I call it Detective Burke.
Judge, could we take a 5-minute recess
You
before we
may.
call? Thank you.
Okay. Mr. O'Donnell, do you need to be taken back here to use the restroom
Yeah,
or
better.
anything?
Just be.
Officers, we all take Mr. O'Donnell. Let's go off the record. Mr. O'Donnell, y'all don't have any water or anything at the table. Would you
And I don't want to waive any of my rights in this trial without waive my rights. That doesn't make sense. Then what is wrong right here? So he, at the end of that, okay, hold on.
Well, here's.
Try it now. Is it better?
You hear me okay, Detective Burke?
Yes, sir.
I think that's better. There's no feedback.
Okay.
Let me withdraw that last question. Do you know at what point in time he signed the waiver of rights during this interview?
It would have been approximately 5 to 6 minutes into the interview from the,
Well, you got the transcript.
Yeah, I just
Yes,
want to
sir.
make sure that I'm reading it correctly.
Direct him to the portion of the transcript.
Well, I'm not certain. That's the reason I want to know if he knew.
at 5 minutes and 39 seconds, he's asking what's the date today. So at that point would have been the time that he was filling out the section where he's filling in the date.
Okay, and that's when he signs it.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, when he made that statement that I just read a while ago at the 4:33 mark, you responded at 4:38.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what was your intent when you was making this response?
Well, he poses the question. He asked, I mean, why would I waive my rights? That doesn't make any sense. And so I'm responding to him, the response to his question. And again, if that paragraph or whatever my response to him, I'm explaining to him that even if he signs the Miranda waiver, that doesn't mean that a few minutes later he can't invoke his rights, and it doesn't mean that he has to answer any of her questions. But I'm also explaining to him that, we're not going to sit there and share case information with him if he's unwilling to sign the Miranda waiver, that we're
Okay.
not going to continue talking to him.
Okay, and then what does he say at 5:31?
He says that's fine, and that's when he begins signing the Miranda form. I think the next, just a couple seconds later, he's asking what the day's date is.
Now, whoever transcribed this for defense counsel has got new speaker here at 5:31. How many people were in the room during this conversation?
It's just myself, Mr. O'Donnell, and Agent Johnson.
So that's inaccurate. It had to be one of the three of you said that,
Yes, sir. Actually, I think that's me that
that says that.
says that. Yes, sir.
Okay. And that's you saying, okay, I just want to make sure that you understand it and you understand what you're signing here.
Yes, sir.
And he says, what's the date today? Is that Mr. O'Donnell said that?
Yes, sir.
And it's the 8th. Doug Johnson says,
Yes, sir.
and at that point in time, that's when you believe Mr. O'Donnell signed the waiver.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you continue to conduct the interview, don't you, for the next, I don't know, approximately 15 minutes?
Yes, sir. I think it's at approximately 20 minutes into the interview where he gets to a point that he clearly invokes, and we stop the interview.
And I
20
think
minutes
what
into.
invokes that clear invocation is he finds out that he's not leaving today, that you're going to arrest him.
Yes, sir.
Is that correct?
He asked about if he keeps talking to us, if he's going to be able to get back on his plane or be able to catch his plane.
And you all respond honestly, I guess, don't you?
Yes, sir. I tell him no, that he's under arrest. He won't be getting on his plane.
And at that time, I think Agent Johnson intercedes once he said that he doesn't want to talk anymore. And he said that's the end of the interview then, basically.
Yes, sir.
To that effect. Okay. During that period of time from after he signs the waiver of rights up until he finds out that he's not getting back on his airplane, did you get any indication from him that he wanted the interview to stop?
No, sir.
Okay. Nothing further, Your Honor.
You may inquire the witness.
Good morning, Detective Burton.
Good morning.
So Mr. O'Donnell was taken into custody at the airport by deputies from the Sacramento Sheriff's Department, right?
Yes, ma'am. They're the ones who have the policing authority at the airport.
And
So
had they,
essentially, they're the airport police.
had they also transported him to the interview location?
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. O'Donnell was handcuffed when detained by the deputies, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And when your interrogation took place, Mr. O'Donnell was not free to leave at that point.
That's correct.
Now, I want to talk about the beginning of the interview, and I think it'd be easier for us to do this if I just played about the first 5 minutes. So you're familiar with the interview, you're the one who recorded it.
Yes, ma'am.
Him about how you and Agent Johnson ended up there, right?
Yes, sir. Or yes,
Going
ma'am, sorry.
through, oh, sorry.
I said, yes, ma'am, sorry.
Oh, no worries. Going through some of the stuff that you had, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And as in evidence you had to support Mr. O'Donnell was the perpetrator.
Yes, ma'am.
And you told Mr. O'Donnell the other part was getting his side of the story, right?
Yes, ma'am.
But before you could do any of that, you had to inform him of his Miranda rights.
Yes, ma'am.
So you read the Miranda form to Mr. O'Donnell,
Yes, ma'am.
and as we heard, he was informed of the right to remain silent
Yes, ma'am.
and the right to consult an attorney before making any statement.
Yes, ma'am.
And you also told Mr. O'Donnell he had the right to stop questioning at any point during the interrogation.
Yes, ma'am.
And after you read Mr. O'Donnell the Miranda form, he doesn't immediately sign it, right?
That's correct.
You asked him if it made sense and he said, sure.
Yes, ma'am.
So he didn't affirmatively say that he understood everything, right?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
He didn't affirmatively say he understood everything in the form.
Think his response, sure, when I asked if it made sense to him.
He didn't say that he wished to speak to you. He didn't say that verbatim, right?
I'm sorry?
Mr. O'Donnell said sure, but he didn't say that he wished to speak to you.
He said sure, and then I'm willing to hear what you're charging me with, but I'm really not gonna say much.
Right.
And then his next, I'm willing to hear you out.
So he wants to hear what you're charging him with, but he's really not going to say much. So at the beginning of the interview, as we discussed, you told Mr. O'Donnell you had information to share with him, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And another part of it was you wanted to get information from him.
Yeah, I'm gonna be asking, I mean, there's gonna be times I'm asking him questions.
And when he's saying, well, I want to hear you out, again, his understanding is he wants to receive information from you, right?
That he wants to continue the conversation. Yes, ma'am.
But he doesn't say that he wants to give you information at that point.
He says, but if I answer, if I have anything to say about it, and then I don't know if I will have anything to say about any of it. I just kind of like shocked. So he doesn't sound like his response, it doesn't sound like he's certain whether he's going to respond to anything or not. Again, he says, I don't know if I will have anything to say about any of it.
So let's say, so at this point, you have him, he seems somewhat confused about the Miranda form, right?
I disagree. I think he clearly understands.
Well, he asked for his glasses to read it himself, right?
When I ask him does that make sense to you? His response is sure.
And then you tell him that you can read it to him again.
Yes, ma'am.
If there's a part, in case there's a part he doesn't understand,
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
Or there's a part that he can't see.
That's correct.
And I want to reference the Miranda form briefly, so may I have permission to approach the witness? And Judge, may I put the Miranda form on your elbow as well, just for the record?
Sure.
And at this point, before Mr. O'Donnell signs the Miranda waiver, he says, I don't want to waive any of my rights. I mean, why would I want to waive my rights? That doesn't make any sense to me, right?
That's correct.
And that was after you had read him the Miranda form, including the rights that he had.
Correct.
I don't want to waive any of my rights. What do you take that statement to mean?
The full context of it.
Let him answer. He's talking about in context. He was going to answer
Okay.
about in context.
The full context of the sentence is he at the end of that sentence, he poses the question, I mean, why to waive my rights? That doesn't make sense. And again, my response to that is I'm attempting to answer. I mean, I can give him plenty of reasons why he would waive his rights, but I'm attempting to answer his question that even if he signs this form, that doesn't mean that he has to answer any of my question. And it doesn't mean that 5 or 10 minutes after that, he can't at that point invoke. And again, it goes back to the context of the full conversation Where in the previous part, he's wanting to hear what we have, the information we have. And in the previous page, he responds, the section I just referred to earlier, that he's not for sure if he's going to answer any of her questions.
Well, let's talk about the full context of the statement. Mr. O'Donnell says, I don't want to waive any of my rights. When he says that, he's not saying, I'm not sure if I want to waive any of my rights.
That's
Correct?
there's
talking-
more to that sentence than him saying, I don't want to waive any of my rights. He continues on
So
and
my
asks
question,
a question. That entire sentence is a question. It's not a statement.
so my question is, he doesn't say, I'm not sure if I want to waive my rights.
No, yeah, he says what he says. It's gonna be up to the court to interpret what happened.
I agree with that.
We can agree that he ends this statement with, he doesn't end the statement with a question. He ends it with, that doesn't make any sense to me, period.
Yes, ma'am.
And after Mr. O'Donnell makes that statement, you continue the interview.
Yes, ma'am.
There's no break in the interview after he gives that statement.
Again, my first response at 4 minutes and 38 seconds is an answer to the question he's just posed regarding waiving his rights.
So there's no break in the interview after he says, that doesn't make sense to me.
That's correct.
You don't reread the form to him out loud.
No, I just, again, go over what I've read to him, explain it to him once again, that even if he signs it, doesn't mean that he has to answer any of the questions. Doesn't mean that 5 minutes later or whenever he decides he can't invoke at that point. Again, I just reiterate or re-explain some of the stuff that I've already read to him.
I guess let's talk about the way that you re-explained it. So following his statement, you don't recite the Miranda warnings to him verbatim again, right?
That's correct.
You're giving him your interpretation essentially of what he needs to do in order to get information.
I'm just explaining to him that him signing the form doesn't mean that he has to answer any of her questions, and explaining to him that him signing that form doesn't mean that he can't invoke. Again, the previous page, he's wanting to engage with us. He's wanting to find out information. He's not sure if he's going to answer any of our questions. So I'm addressing that when I respond to him.
You don't explain to him following his statement that anything he says could be used against him in court or in any other proceedings.
It was read to him verbatim in the initial contact.
But that's not explained to him after.
I don't
understand. You've lost me.
Well, she's asking a question. That's
Yeah, I don't understand.
But also.
Wait just a second.
Okay.
He's looking at the form while you're talking to him, and all that's on the form, correct?
Yes, sir. He has the
So-
form in front of
So
him.
you don't repeat what you say because he's looking at the form. So I want you to go down and read in context, the rest of the conversation so I can understand this. He asked you at 5:39, he asked you what is. Let's start with.
Well, he's previously testified, but that's when he signed the
4:33.
form.
Let's start at 4:30.
Yeah.
Can you play the rest of it? You have the capacity there. Can you play the
So just to be clear, the document is signed, subsequent to the statement, I don't want to waive my rights. I mean, why would I want to waive my rights? That doesn't make any sense to me, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And earlier, when we were talking about Mr. O'Donnell's initial response to you reading the Miranda form, he said, he responded, sure, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And I think you testified that, that sure indicated that he fully understood everything in the form.
Yes, ma'am. There's multiple points where I ask him, does that make sense to you? There's one above that where he responds the same way at 2 minutes and 33 seconds. And that is just after I've read Miranda. And this is my statement. Obviously, I'm not making any threats or promises to you. Again, we're just wanting to talk to you. And as it says in there, at any time, if you decide you don't want to talk to us anymore, you can just let us know. Okay. Does that make sense to you? And his response is sure.
However, you did ask him if you could read it to him again in case there was a part that he didn't understand, right?
When he asked for his glasses, I asked him if there was a part that he didn't understand, and I offered to read it to him again if he was having trouble seeing anything. Of course, that was during the same same motion or action was going on when Agent Johnson found his glasses and gave him his glasses.
And I want to go back to something you mentioned briefly. The form says, I do this freely and voluntarily without threat or promise. We can agree there was a promise to share information with him if he signed the form, right?
I didn't know. I mean, I'm just explaining to him that I'm not going to sit there and share case information with him and him not willing to waive Miranda or agree to at least hear us or sit with us. I mean, he could have clearly invoked at that point and it would have been over and there wouldn't have been any sharing of any information. So.
Are you saying you didn't tell him that you had information to share with him?
No, I did tell him that.
And that was before he signed the form?
I'm sorry?
And that happened before he signed the form, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Judge, I have no further questions.
You have anything else?
No regret. I have no other proofs to me.
You stand down, officer. Do y'all have any proof you want?
No, Your Honor.
I asked if we'd be able to excuse Agent Johnson at this point in time.
That'd be good. You already, yeah, you bring, there's no reason to recognize him to appear at any other time.
We don't know when that'll be.
We don't know when that would be. Y'all agree with that?
Yes,
Okay.
Judge.
I'll have to get permission for him to testify again anyway.
Yeah. Would y'all like some briefing time on this?
Your Honor, I don't, if the court wants a brief on this issue, I'll brief it, but I think this is one of the clearest, best interrogations. If I can fault Detective Burton, I don't want him to be offended. I think he goes out of his way and is probably too kind to Mr. O'Donnell, making sure his rights are protected in this case. And if you look at the context of the conversation, what they're trying to parse out of this and saying, well, I just don't want to waive any of my rights, that's a minute before he signs.
I understand what you're saying,
Yeah.
but just to protect the record,
Okay.
I'm gonna need to make written findings
Okay.
on these things. You know what I mean? So it doesn't hurt. If it's that simple for you, it won't take you
No,
that long
it
to
won't.
brief it. You take 15 days to brief it. or you
Well,
want
I'd like
30?
to just have, could I just have 45 days on both briefs and give them a chance to respond?
That
way?
sounds good.
Yeah.
45 and 20.
Yes, Judge, and
So let's correct the previous order. 45 to do separate briefings on both of those things.
Yes.
And yes, Judge, we'd like to brief this, and I would just like to say that this isn't a clear-cut issue. Edwards and Davis require an interrogation to end once someone invokes. So if that statement, I don't want to waive my rights, why would I want to waive my rights? That doesn't make any sense to me. If that's an invocation, then the interview should have ended at that point. The only way it could have continued was if Mr. O'Donnell reinitiated conversations with the police. So let's say he invokes and then
You
says,
get an opportunity to brief this. I understand exactly what you're saying. And I understand why you're arguing it. If y'all will brief it, I'll take a look at it.
yes,
I
Judge.
I really don't think it's completely clear, clear cut in either direction, but I do think you have to take in context the entire conversation and the desire that your client had expressed to get more information from the Commonwealth, and the Commonwealth officer not being willing to give him information unless he signed the waiver and explained to him he could sign the waiver, he still didn't have to say anything. So knowing your rights and deciding when you're going to speak or something are two different things, in my opinion. So this is not, I really haven't ever seen another case exactly like this factually. It's very unusual, and it's very interesting. I've also read the entire statement, and I don't really see anything in the statement that Mr. O'Connell says that is incriminating, except he denies knowing the state police captain who was the wife of the deceased. Other than that, I don't see anything he said that was incriminated in any way whatsoever.
Yeah, I would agree that he's very successful in eliciting information without providing any.
Well, he provided knowing this woman. There could have been a lot of different reasons why he denied knowing her. I don't know, but in the case, I will say that if it could be proven, I assume that it could be proven that he was untruthful in that response, that it would be incriminating what he said along
I'll
those
agree
lines.
with that, Chairman.
Do what?
I'll agree with that.
Okay, so that's the reason I'm wanting it briefed.
Yes, Judge,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you. While we're all here and while the defendant is here, is there anything else you'd like to bring up? Okay, is there anything that the defense would like to bring up?
No, Judge, nothing further.
Okay, if you'll burn a copy of both of those and provide them to both counsel. Now, pardon? Let's go off the record there. Now, we're gonna